Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, this is Jordan Sather here, and in this video, I want to get into the topics of medical kidnapping and forced medical intervention. Yes, this is very real, it happens, and it happens far more than a lot of people even realize, which is why some light needs to be shed on this. And I also want to get into the concept of medical disinformation, basically the untruths that we get from our medical authorities and the supposed mainstream medical scientific establishment, because by seeing this medical disinformation, seeing how they lie to us about natural treatments and about our health, you can see more clearly as to how these forced medical interventions take place. All right. So in getting into this topic, I'm going to cover some recent news stories about medical kidnapping because this will make it personal. This will allow you to see how exactly it happens and who it happens to. So the first story that we're going to start with comes from late last week, and you can see the headline here. It says, "Mom who wants to treat daughter's cancer with CBD oil instead of surgery turns herself into police." Now, mind you, this was printed in the mainstream media, so we're going to parse this article for all the false narratives and twisted contexts that they typically write with. But let's keep getting into it here. Christina Dixon was her name, and she's facing 2 counts, each of first-degree custodial interference and first-degree criminal mistreatment. So you're telling me she's being charged with custodial interference and criminal mistreatment of her own child for simply wanting to treat cancer their own way. Okay, let's see exactly how this happened. An Oregon mother, they're out of Oregon there, is accused of taking her ailing daughter out of the state to avoid cancer treatment, opting instead to use CBD oil and other supposed naturopathic treatments. Okay, 2 things here. Number 1, it doesn't sound like she was avoiding cancer treatment at all. It sounds like she was avoiding their cancer treatments and treating the cancer her way, all right? They don't say that. They frame that with a very twisted context. And not just that, but in the headline here, it states that she only used CBD oil, when in fact she was doing many different things, many different naturopathic treatments, treating it naturally, basically. So that headline is wrong. Again, framing this with a twisted context. This outlet confirms that Christina Dixon was booked early Thursday morning at Clackamas County Jail. She faces those particular charges of custodial interference and criminal mistreatment. Dixon's 13-year-old daughter, Kylie, is battling liver cancer. And according to the local news in Clackamas there, a doctor had ordered a prescribed treatment of chemo and surgery for the teen. Doctors wanted to remove one cancerous tumor from the girl's liver. So, the mainstream doctors wanted to treat this cancer the mainstream way. We often call this the cut, poison, burn medical system when it comes to cancer, because that's typically all they want to do. They want to cut it out with surgery, they want to burn it away with radiation, or they want to poison you with chemotherapy to rid you of that cancer. Mind you, all very toxic, all very harmful, a couple of them being poisonous, and all very expensive, right? But this woman is getting charged because she didn't want to do those things. She didn't want to deal with the expensiveness and the toxic nature of some of these and the risk involved. She just wanted to do it her own way. Then the article continues, but Dixon claims her treatment has gotten results. In an interview with the news, she said she believed that an alternative treatment of vitamins, herbs, and pure CBD oil has been effective in treating her daughter's cancer. Authorities allege that Dixon and Kylie left the state in June to avoid treatment. She went to Nevada. They literally had to hunt her down through a series of tips. Authorities determined she skipped to Nevada. They found her. They put her in protective custody in June. She went to court in July in Oregon, and a judge ruled that state child welfare workers could make medical decisions for her child. Then they issued a warrant for her arrest. God, kick her while she's down, people. She turned herself in earlier this week. Wow. The child doesn't want surgery. She does not want surgery. The attorney was saying, the attorney for the family, the mother and the child, she doesn't want surgery. She doesn't believe it's effective or necessary. But a representative from court-appointed special advocates recommended that the alternative medicine should complement traditional medicine. So what do we have here, folks? We literally have medical authorities in concert with the judicial system, the local judicial system there in Oregon, they are trying to arrest this woman for wanting to treat her child naturally. How absurd is that? And they're putting her in jail. They're charging her with this criminal mistreatment and custodial interference. And wow, they're making a state-appointed case agent, child welfare worker, basically in charge of the medical decisions for this child. If this doesn't infuriate you, you got some research to do. You got some research to do about natural health, about how non-safe and ineffective their versions are, how safe and effective the natural versions are, and how much, again, medical disinformation, how many lies we get about these natural modalities and about our health. People literally think that you need to cut, poison, or burn cancer out of you instead of heal it another way, which can be done, which has been done. So there's our first story. How about our second story of medical kidnapping? Okay, so this one blew up in the mainstream media just a couple of months ago. Again, this happens more frequently than a lot of people realize. You know, the ones we see in the media are just a fraction of what doesn't get reported. But this one hit the mainstream, and it involves the story of Joshua McAdams and Taylor Bland Ball. Their child, 3-year-old Noah McAdams, had leukemia, and again, they weren't avoiding cancer treatment, keeping their child from cancer treatment, as the NBC fake news headline says here. They were wanting to do it naturally. So they left Florida, they drove out of state, and they were healing their child of cancer naturally. They were posting about this all over their Facebook page, documenting the whole experience, documenting the exact modalities they were using. One called the Gerson therapy. They were using a lot of natural herbs, natural ways to heal their child. But again, medical authorities found them. They issued a warrant out for their arrest. They took custody away from their child, and they forced their child to have chemotherapy for his cancer. Just how absurd is this stuff, guys? How absurd. This is why light needs to be shed on these topics, because these children are getting ripped away from their parents. How awful is that? That you literally cannot choose what you're going to do with your, I mean, truly, how free are we? How sovereign are we? And this brings up that exact point, is that, you know, don't get me wrong, America is much more free than other places in the world. But a lot of people say we're a free country. We got to be real. We got to be honest here, folks. America is not a truly free country if we can't even have the freedom to choose our own medical practices, medical treatments, right? We have to fight for that. There's this right to try push going on by the presidential administration right now. Right to try. And I'm a fan of it. Don't get me wrong. I'm a fan of right to try. I think it's a great thing to force Big Pharma to release a lot of these experimental treatments. We should have a right to try them, right? But we shouldn't just have a right to try these experimental pharmaceutical treatments. We should have a right to try anything we want, even something natural, even something that who cares if this person disagrees with it, this person disapproves of it. Maybe they have twisted beliefs. They're believing the wrong thing. Maybe they're misled. Okay? We should have the right to try whatever we want for ourselves and our children, especially our children. All right. And this brings us into the topic of medical disinformation. Okay. And I'll first touch on the idea of how deep the lies about our health go, the lies about how our body functions, period, nutritionally, physically, physiologically, how safe and effective these natural cancer treatments are. I mentioned a few minutes ago the Gerson therapy. Research that. Dr. Max Gerson in the early 1900s developed a pretty much purely diet and juicing-based protocol for healing a wide variety of degenerative diseases. And yes, he had many cancer patients. He even testified in front of Congress, brought many of his cancer patients with him and said, yeah, diet alone, folks. Diet alone and a lifestyle change can help you heal from disease. Wow. We don't hear much about the Gerson therapy these days, do we? We, in fact, from medical authorities themselves, they tell us that vitamins and supplements and nutritional foods won't do anything for your immune system. They won't do anything for cancer. You just need to cut poison and burn it out of you. It's the only way to heal it. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. So they lie to us about these natural cancer treatments. Lately, I've been fighting the fight with chlorine dioxide, otherwise known as MMS. The medical authorities and the fake news media, they like to tell you it's a toxic drinking bleach. That's a complete misrepresentation of what it is. It's in fact a disinfectant, an oxidizer. And when you take it at very minute amounts, it can disinfect pathogens, combat cancer cells within your body. Very cheap. You know, there's actually a man in Washington State jailed for this stuff not too many years ago. His name was Daniel. He was in jail for selling a water disinfectant. You know what's incredible? You can actually go to Amazon and REI and buy potable water tablets at those stores and online where the active ingredient is chlorine dioxide. They don't get attacked. It's only the people who realize that, wow, you can actually use this for health and try to share those ideas. Only they get attacked. What about the stories about all the holistic doctors that have been suppressed for decades? I was talking about Dr. Max Gerson back in the early 1900s. How about Dr. Royal Rife treating diseases with just resonance, with just frequency? What about that? What about the string of holistic doctors in modern times over the last few years where they die under very mysterious circumstances, sometimes, of course, commit suicide? And you need to understand how deep this misinformation goes. I mean, it stems all the way back from the early 1900s when the Rockefeller family, the Carnegies, many of these industrialist, oil baron, fiat currency families, these bloodline families, they were instrumental in getting the American Medical Association built up and funded. They were instrumental in creating the allopathic or the current medical system that we use these days. And then when they did that, search into the Flexner Report. When this Flexner Report was ridiculously written and pushed out in 1910, chiropractic, naturopathy, herbalism, all of these fields of study and all of these practitioners were just heavily pushed out because all of the money, all of the attention was being funneled into research, millions of dollars into research, this never-ending black hole of research. Geez, they've been researching these things forever with millions, if not billions of dollars. And allopathy, the modern pill prescription way of doing things. This is what got built up after that Flexner Report, after the AMA was built to publicity in the early 1900s. Then all those natural ways got sanitized. Then any sort of natural healers that tried to speak up, speak out, do the great work since then. Dr. Max Gerson, Royal Rife, anybody promoting chlorine dioxide, all those natural cancer doctors, even mothers, even families that are trying to treat themselves in natural ways. Can't do it. It's the medical mafia in action. So I leave you here with these thoughts. It's more imperative than ever that we, number one, wake up, research for ourselves, make the effort to learn about yourself, how to eat, how to move, how to be healthy, all these things properly, because, of course, they won't tell us the right ways, the medical authorities. So we got to educate ourselves about ourselves. Know thyself. Be your own doctor, right? Understand these different herbs, these different modalities. How do we use them? They're very cheap. They're very effective, okay? Peer through that medical disinformation to find the truth and share that. Share that with your friends and family as much as you can, of course. You can only lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink it. But share it when you can, and then more people will know about these sorts of things. More people will start standing for their sovereign rights. So I think it's a bipartisan issue. I think a lot of people can go, yeah, they might not be the most woke folk. They might not be the most aware about what's really going on in the world. But I think just about anybody can agree that we should have the freedom and the right to do our own medical treatments, to not get vaccinated if we don't want to get vaccinated. There's another forced medical intervention I didn't really talk about in this video. We should be able to choose what we do with our own damn bodies, right? and our children's bodies. So that's that. There you go, folks. Forced medical intervention, medical kidnapping, incredibly infuriating topics. Yes, they do happen, but the more awareness we can spread about these things and the more we can learn about proper health, period, the more we can stop this stuff from happening. Thank you. JordanSather.com. I'll be back soon. Stay woke, everybody. Done.